Should you date a single mom? I'm a single dad now, and the women that I'm dating are indeed single moms. So I'm in a great position to tell you what it's like dating a single mom, but I've also got the perspective of being a single dad. So I get the best of both worlds in terms of the real world knowledge I've got, and I'm passing that on to you in today's video. Hi. I'm Jeff Campbell from DivorcedParentsClub.com, and I'm on a mission to help other divorced people just like me navigate these troubled waters that we're finding ourselves in, whether that's learning how to date after a painful divorce, co-parenting with a toxic ex, dealing with an ex who asked for the divorce and you don't want it, and how do you win them back? We cover it all on this channel, and I'm glad you're here with me. Anyway, let's dive into today's topic. So first, let's look at the pros of dating a single mom. After all, there are a lot of pros. I know there's a lot of negative videos and articles out there that kind of slam dating a single mom, but I can tell you as a single dad, I really appreciate the single moms that I have met and gone on dates with. So let me tell you some of the positives. So first of all, they can be very caring and compassionate. After all, they've got kids, and if they're a good mom, and that's one thing to think about, if they're a good mom, they know unconditional love. They know about being caring and compassionate and empathetic and being patient. That's a good thing because those skills, those things, those attributes will translate into how they work as a part of a couple, in a relationship, or even just in the dating phase. Those are all good things that you will benefit from. Next is they are selfless. They are used to giving. They are used to putting their own needs lower on the priority list than other people's, namely their kids. But they have learned how to balance things and not always put their own needs first. They're not likely to be selfish, and they've learned how to navigate the world and balance the needs of lots of other people. And if you're dating a single mom, you are going to be one of those people. Next is, of course, they can handle multiple priorities. After all, if they've got more than one kid especially, and maybe, one or maybe more exes, they're dealing with all kinds of things, and they probably have a job, so they're dealing with the priorities of that. They're dealing with the running of a household by themselves, getting the kids to school, getting lunches ready, maybe being part of the PTA, who knows? They're juggling multiple priorities. And I'm not saying that doesn't add to their stress level, not saying it doesn't occasionally wear them out and drain their patience, but they have learned how to navigate this world juggling multiple priorities, and you can benefit from that by dating a single mom. The next thing is they are more likely to want a long-term relationship, assuming that's what you want. Maybe that's not what you want. If you're looking for a quick, no strings attached fling, a single mom in many cases is not going to be what you want. But if you're looking to settle down, you're looking for a long-term relationship, maybe even marriage, the good news is single moms probably want that too. After all, it can be exhausting running a household and taking care of kids more or less by yourself. Now, many cases there's going to be 50-50 custody. That's what I have with my ex. So I have the kids one week, she has them the next. But during the weeks that she has them, you can bet it's kind of exhausting. It's a lot of work. And it would be great to have a partner to help you navigate that. Not necessarily someone who steps in as stepdad. I wouldn't allow that in my case, but just somebody who can take a little bit of the burden off, lighten that load a little bit. It would be great to have. It would be great to have in my case too, but single moms definitely would be more likely to be looking for a long-term committed relationship. So if that's your goal, the good news is you can find it more easily with a single mom. And then the last pro of dating a single mom that I want to cover is that they're less likely to be needy and clingy. Sometimes men or women can be needy and clingy and kind of desperate and a little smothering, and the good news is she's got other things that are going to be at the top of her priority list before you. And there are some negatives that can come with that, but the good news is she's not likely to be needy and smothering and clingy because she's got so many other irons in the fire, so to speak. So the good news is you're going to have your space and your downtime, and you'll check in occasionally, you'll go on dates, once or twice a week, things like that. You'll slowly become part of her world. And if she's a good mom, she's not going to introduce you to her kids right away. She may wait 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months before she introduces you to her kids. And if she introduces you to them right away, that's kind of a red flag. And we're going to get into the red flags of dating a single mom towards the end of this video. But next up, we're going to cover the cons of dating a single mom. But first, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. It sends a great signal to YouTube, and then they're going to show my videos to more people just like you. Then of course, smash that subscribe button and the bell notification button too. That way you get notified of future videos that I put out. But now let's get into the cons of dating a single mom. And this, I know, is where I'm going to start to get a lot of hateful comments, unfortunately. The first con of dating a single mom is that you're going to be at the bottom of the priority list. After all, her kids, if she's a good mom, are going to come first. Then running of the household, because that can be challenging as a single parent. Then maybe even her exes, if they're heavily involved with the kids, they may be next in the priority list. If she's working full time, that's going to be next at the priority list. And then you're going to fall below all of those things. And you have to come to terms with that. You have to understand how that's going to impact you and your dating life. You need to just accept that. And if you can't accept that, then you probably shouldn't be dating a single mom. Accept the fact that dates may be fewer and further between than normal. In my case, I have my kids every other week, so I tend to go on dates on the weeks that I don't have them. That means kind of more or less my availability is only 2 weeks out of the month. And for some women, that may not be enough. And it may be that I eventually get to a place where I'm hiring babysitters and things like that, but I'm not doing that in the early stages of dating somebody. I just don't want to spend that much money if I'm not sure I really want to see them on a regular basis. But just know that that's going to be your reality if you date a single mom. The next con of dating a single mom is sex. Let's talk about sex, baby. Just know that it's going to be a little harder to have it on a regular basis. Why is that? Well, for starters, if she's not going to want to have sex most likely in her house if her kids are home. If she's got 50-50 custody, that means 2 weeks out of the month. If you have sex at all, it's going to need to be at your place, or maybe if you're doing like a weekend getaway or something like that. But she's probably not going to want to have sex at her house if the kids are home. If she does, that's a little bit of a red flag, at least prior to you being introduced to them and becoming part of that family unit, essentially. The next thing, and I mentioned, weekend getaways a second ago, the next thing is it's going to be harder to schedule things like weekend getaways or vacations and things like that. She's going to have to coordinate that with her kids, coordinate that with her ex, and coordinate that with her job. And that adds a layer of complexity that you wouldn't have if you were dating somebody who didn't have kids. So just be aware you can't plan a spontaneous trip like that without a lot of notice. She's going to need plenty of notice to coordinate everything to make sure it happens. And there may be times that you want to do it and you have the time off and she just can't get it figured out and coordinated. And you have to be okay with that. The next one is that her kids may be resentful towards you. Why is that? Well, there's a whole host of reasons. For one, how long has she been separated and divorced from her ex, the kid's parent, presumably? If it's recent, they're still processing a lot depending upon how old they are. I've got a 4-year-old, a 13-year-old, almost 14, and a 15-year-old. And they're all processing my ex and I's divorce in different ways. And it's manifesting itself in different ways. And my older two in particular are giving a lot of pushback to my ex. They're a lot more flexible with me, thankfully. Not quite sure why, but my ex was the one that initiated the divorce. So that probably does have something to do with it. But just be aware there can be resentment towards you. You can mitigate some of that, though, by not trying to replace the other parent, the ex that is no longer in the picture on a regular basis. Don't try and be the replacement parent. That's not your role. Your role is to be a supportive date and then maybe eventually boyfriend or girlfriend to the single parent, the single mom in this case. And so your job is not to be a co-parent with them. That is not your role. And your kids will resent that, the ex may resent that, and even the woman you're dating might resent that. Try and be supportive, towards the woman you're dating, and then try and just be a friend and an advocate for the kids, but don't actively parent them. Don't tell them what to do. Obviously, if they're putting themselves in harm's way, then yes, by all means step in. But otherwise, that is not your role. The more you try and make it your role, the harder it's going to be for you, and the more likely it is that you'll get dumped. And then lastly, as a con of dating a single mom, the ex is going to be in the picture, unless he's a deadbeat dad. But in most cases, the ex is going to be in the picture and is probably going to be higher on the priority list than you are because of the kids. And you have to accept that. You're probably eventually going to meet this person. You don't have to be their best friend, but it could be challenging to date a single mom if you and the ex have a lot of animosity towards each other. It's probably not going to work. So you have to accept the fact that this guy is in the picture indefinitely, and you have to learn to work with him and just, share the same space with him. You don't have to be best friends, but you don't want to be enemies either. And you have to be accepting of the fact that he's going to be there. He's going to be in the house sometimes. He's going to be at family functions sometimes, might be on vacations sometime. You have to come to terms with that and be willing to accept that, or you shouldn't date a single mom. So what are some of the red flags to look for if you're dating a single mom and you're not quite sure it's right? Well, let me tell you a story. I was just speaking to a friend of mine yesterday who was explaining to me about a recent situation with her brother and a woman that he just broke up with. And in this case, I'm not going to name any names or name any specifics, but the woman had 3 kids with 2 other guys before she even met my friend's brother. So already that's a little bit of a red flag. And then I heard the story that with one of those kids, the dad wasn't in the picture. So the boyfriend she had at the time took it upon himself to put his name on that child's birth certificate, even though he wasn't the father. She dumped him just a short time after the kid was born, and now years later that guy is still paying child support on a kid that wasn't even his. And then of course she went from that guy to my friend's brother, and now just is, kind of screwed him around financially. Again, I'm not going to get into details, but those are all huge red flags. They really are. I'm not saying single moms who have more than one baby daddy are a red flag. I have gone on a date with a woman who has 2 different guys that fathered some of her kids. She has 4 kids, and she's a beautiful woman and no issues whatsoever. But you want to look for that in conjunction with some other things. And in this particular situation, there were so many red flags, it just seems obvious that she's trouble and that you should stay away from somebody like that. The next red flag to look for is how she treats her kids, specifically if she's a bad mom. If they're neglected, they're not properly nourished, their clothes aren't clean, the house is a wreck. I know what it's like being a single parent and trying to raise kids. Again, I have 3 kids, and every other week they're with me full time, and I have to maintain the household, I have to put dinner on the table, I have to wash laundry and things like that. I know it's a lot of work, but if what you're seeing is a single mom who is doing a poor job in all of those areas, I'm telling you, that is a red flag. That's an indicator that she's not organized, she has priorities screwed up, maybe she's got some addiction issues, who knows? But she's not putting her eggs in the correct baskets, she's not prioritizing her life well, and that will not bode well for you if you end up getting into a serious committed relationship with her. And lastly, the last red flag that you might see in dating a single mom is if she has kids who are under the age of 18, but she doesn't have custody at all. Either she just has visitation or they're not in her life, period. The courts these days still tend to favor the mother in terms of custody. They just do. That's the way it is. I'm not saying whether or not it's fair. That's just the reality of the situation. So a single mom who doesn't have custody at all clearly, at least at one time, was not a good mother and was probably putting these kids at risk in some way, or didn't care enough about them to fight for custody. Either way, huge red flag, you should steer clear. Anyway, I hope this video helps you. Dating single moms is definitely a good thing in my mind. I'm really only dating single moms, and so far I've had a lot of success doing that. I've met a lot of great women. I'm still dating around and kind of dating multiple people just to get my feet wet. My divorce has only been done for about 2 months now, and I'm not ready to enter a full-on committed relationship with one person yet. That is the goal though, and I'm working towards that. But single moms can definitely be a great way to go in terms of what I'm looking for and what you're looking for. Anyway, thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.